Hello and welcome to our place in Sicily. Today I'm going to teach you how to build a ceiling in an abandoned Sicilian palazzo. Now, building a ceiling isn't easy, but it was for me because I had a team helping us with it, and I'm here to sort of walk you through the process. And in the background, you can hear the guys working on the next step, basically preparing another part of our house for doing the same exact thing. So let's start with how we do this. First, it feels like a great dance of scaffolding. Scaffolding going up and scaffolding going down. I mean, that seems to be the story of this entire renovation. First, what we needed to do was to prepare the room for the last of the structural bits we needed to do. So we rearranged some of the scaffolding, and by we, whenever I say we in this, I'm not actually talking about me. I'm talking about my very capable team. But they had to make a few more holes in the side walls that they could do now that the walls were reinforced from our earlier video, to make way for some beams that would sort of add on to the beam structure we had already in the ceiling. We had both wood and steel beams. And a very interesting process to climb up scaffolding and make a big hole and have like rocks twice the size of my head come out. Sometimes they're mostly small, but every once in a while I'd walk through there and there'd be like a giant one. And I'm hoping that wasn't a surprise. I tried to stay out of their way. But basically making some holes to increase the structure. And once that was done, they needed to do a couple things to those beams. They painted the ends of them that were going into the concrete with some paint to keep it from rusting in the walls. So if you were here, you could smell that they have treated these iron bars that have gone into the wall, but we've added this guy. That one was here along with the wood, and that one was here along with the wood. And then they've added this guy too. We are cooking with gas, which is awesome. Pretty soon you won't be able to see this from here. And they also had to then fill the holes and really solidify the steel beams. They actually tweaked some of the wood beams in there a little bit too, so they had to fill all that up, and we had to let that dry for a bit. The next thing these guys had to do was to basically create the floor across the beams. But it's different than we would do in the US with a wood structure with wood and actually more wood. But it's a fairly simple dry process. Not so here in Italy in an abandoned palazzo. You need to then come in with, instead of joists, well, I mean, these might be called joists. They call them, or they translate to blades. I don't know the actual Italian term. So here, they're cement beams with basically rebar through them. So they're reinforced T-shaped. We usually do I-beams, but these are T-shaped, and the T's are going to get used upside down. Ciao. Ciao. The delivery of the cement beams came, and the guys, as is necessary in a house that's already built, carried them all in one by one. So after we got all the beams in, the next day we were, again, not me, but the team, needed to put all those beams up on top of the structure that we had been building over the last few days. Now, you can see from our video that these are spaced kind of like we would space like 2x4 walls. They're spaced at a certain depth, and for a good reason, which you'll see in a minute. But they had them all lined up. They basically met in the middle. They don't overlap. They sort of come to a point where the structural steel beam is in the middle of the room. And once that was set, we brought in a truckload of these bricks. So I'm at the Palazzo. I was here early this morning to watch them put in some of the parts of the ceiling of the ground floor. And now they have to bring all of this in by hand, and that's going to go on top of the cement beams that they put in. Very interesting process, and I'll try to sort of narrate along the way if I can, or translate as much as I can figure out. But I think it should be fun, except for having to carry all of that in. They're a funny shaped brick, but it's ingenious. I mean, the whole thing felt like a Lego task for grown-ups. So you have these T-shaped beams that are upside down. So the top of the T is down. And then we have these bricks that sort of have the corners tucked off of them. Let me show you the bricks. So they brought these bricks in, and the part where the corners are off of the bricks make them fit perfectly over the T-shaped joists, the cement joists. And this was a little scary for me because it was sketchy for me. I just kept thinking of myself on there. It would be sketchy if I did it because I can't balance and I would have fallen through. But they had scaffolding, again, the scaffolding dance underneath as they moved these up and down onto the joists. Now, what they had to do is move some of the joists to match up and line up with the brick. So they put a brick up, and they did this at both ends of the joists and in the middle to get the spacing. It was so great to watch how this process worked. And so they'd put the first brick on one end, and then they'd move the joist in a little bit to make sure that the brick was level on top and that it fit perfectly, because the brick is essentially the spacer. It tells you where to lay the joists. The joists are not attached. They're just sitting on there, but they're heavy, and they just sort of lock into these bricks. So they put a brick at the beginning and at the end of each joist, and there's two lengths of joists. So they worked slowly and methodically, somebody unloading them off of the truck outside, bringing them in, putting them up on the scaffolding on either ends, somebody passing them up and then putting them on. It's like a dance. It really is like a dance. And then they got sort of to the end of them all spaced out, and then they could just work. So it made the rest of laying all these bricks much faster because they've already spaced all of the, you can hear fireworks. I don't know if you guys can hear that. There's fireworks in the distance. Probably some festival going on today somewhere. So all the bricks got laid on. And then they come in with the structural iron mesh, the same stuff that they have been putting on the walls, but in the floor size. The floor size and the wall size seem to be a slightly different grid size. And then it was all ready for the cement. So I got notice that the next morning, very early in the morning, they would be expecting the cement to arrive. So it was a great ordeal. The whole team was there, the whole floor team, and the cement vendor brought his big truck right up in front of our house, and we had to pour it in. So he had a giant arm, lifted the arm, took off the hose. We had to extend the hose. The guys got it all into place. They used a brick to support the hose, so it was lifted up off, and the filling continued. The guys would work like crazy to shovel it into the corner they needed it. I didn't think about how heavy that hose was going to be filled with cement. It was quite an ordeal to move that around. I just didn't think about what that was going to be like, and I don't know why. So they filled it in from corner to corner. One of the guys was responsible for the leveling. He slowly and methodically moved that leveler piece of wood back through the room, set it aside, they'd pour some more, he would level some more, and everybody watched who wasn't working. And I even loved that the cement mixer guy gets a little remote control for the car. Like these construction workers, they know how to have fun. So he wore this like sort of fanny pack remote control that would raise and lower and pull the hose out, or basically pull the arm of the cement mixer out. So and that is pretty much it. This is what we got. This is how you build a ceiling. In some places, obviously, it looks like a floor because it's also the floor, but this is how we built the ceiling for our guest house, which is under part of our main house. And now we have a ceiling / floor in an abandoned Sicilian palazzo. So here's the first look at our bedroom suite with the new floor, freshly poured, still wet. Doors open, drying out. Wow. So cool. Thanks so much for joining me for this lovely lesson of how to build a ceiling in an abandoned Sicilian palazzo. Until next time, ciao ciao.